Georgia Perkins. Remember, guys, she is our integrative nutritional health coach, health and wellness blogger, content creator, freelance writer. Remember, she has all these hours. She has extra hours in her day. Recipe developer, and she's dedicated to helping us create a healthy and balanced lifestyle. And Georgia is going to close out all of our sessions for us today. So welcome back, Georgia.
Amazing. Oh, I'm so excited. So yeah, I will go back and share my screen again, but I know a lot of you guys were obviously here for the morning session when I kicked us off with, this as a little bit of a refresher. We talked about sort of laying that foundation for setting goals and intentions, which is what we're going to do here in this last little cherry on top session. And just a quick reminder, I know that Jacqueline so kindly introduced me again, but maybe if you weren't here for that first session, yes, I am an integrative nutrition health coach. I also am a health and wellness blogger. My website is goodnesswithg.com. My Instagram, oh my goodness, is at goodnesswithg. So you can learn a lot more there. But quick little thing before we dive in, it's just a reminder that we will be doing another giveaway. There's been a lot of really great ones today for a 75-minute health coaching intensive session, which, just as a quick reminder, as I shared earlier, I work as a health coach with clients one-on-one, but I also offer the opportunity to just meet with me for 75 minutes. And it is again, an intensive session where we can really dive deeply into anything that you're struggling with your health and wellness. And we can really use that session to dive in more deeply into the goals that you're setting, ask any questions, and I'll be able to provide you with sort of catered tools, resources, tips, etc., to help you achieve the goals that you set for yourself. So that being said, I am going to go back to sharing my screen. So we are really picking up where we left off this morning. And again, as a refresher, we really talked about what the holistic approach towards wellness really means. It's really that whole person approach. Just identifying the things that might be holding you back from living the life that you want to live. And also introduce you guys to the concepts of primary food and secondary food, if y'all remember. So we're going to build on all of that today and our guests this afternoon, and really talk about how that foundation that we established earlier is necessary to creating goals and intentions that last for life. So I find this often with clients that they feel like, they've set goals, maybe it's the beginning of a month or beginning of a new year, especially, and they've set these things that they really want to, work on and do for themselves, but they just have a really hard time following through. And then it sort of creates this cycle of sort of distrust for yourself when you feel like, I'm setting these things that I want to accomplish, but I know I'm not really going to follow through, or I've struggled to follow through in the past. So what makes me think this time is going to be different? So I really want to help you guys understand what is necessary and what's required to set intentions and achieve goals successfully, and how to set yourself up in a way that makes these goals much more manageable. So that's really what we're going to dive into today. And your little homework, hopefully it wasn't too strenuous homework, but I gave you guys that circle of life exercise to work on throughout this day. Maybe you had a little bit of time to complete that. And I know that there are a couple other exercises I'm going to have you guys work on, and they're really for your own benefit. So they're attached to that PDF as well that we, I believe, put in the chat. But if not, maybe we can put it in there so you guys can download it, keep it open on your computer, just use this as a framework. So we're going to get into that here in just a little bit. But that being said, first thing I really want to talk about is something that I actually introduced you guys to this morning, and that is the concept of values. And earlier I mentioned how important it is to ensure that your actions are in line with the values and the things that you really prioritize and hold most dearly in your life. Those things are your values. So we're going to dive a little bit more into what it means to live a value-driven life and how your best self, quote unquote, sort of plays into that. So values are really at the core of a fulfilled and happy and balanced life, that's really the goal of, I think we could all say that's probably a goal of ours. And really when I'm working with clients, that's what we're looking to achieve, is how to, feel more fulfilled, happier, more balanced, etc. So when it comes to values, it's really understanding how you can identify your unique gifts, your morals, things that you're passionate about, and how you can use those to help visualize how you can live your most fulfilled life and also improve the lives of others. So this idea of the best self is something that I always sort of weave into my client conversations and programs as well. And a really easy way to think of what your best self would be is to take a moment and just kind of visualize if you were doing all of the things that you really wanted to do and were passionate about and lived in line with your values. That's really that best version of yourself that we're all trying to achieve. And it's unrealistic to say that we necessarily will get there, but that's what we're wanting to strive for is sort of that best self. And so our values help us live in line with that best self. So all of this being said, this is a visual that it's very basic, obviously, but we're going to dive into it here a bit more. So I would encourage y'all to write this down, keep it on a sticky note on your computer or whatever it is, because this is something that I come back to all of the time with my coaching clients. And this is just a really wonderful way to understand how all these things obviously play into one another, but also what the difference is between like goals and intentions. And so that being said, I think that, and I said this earlier, that, setting goals and intention setting is something that I think we're talking about a lot more in the wellness space, which is awesome. I love when people want to set intentions, but I think we often don't necessarily know what that really means and what the difference is between goals and intentions. So as a brief little introduction and as a good way to sort of, good rule of thumb, I like to say that intentions are broad statements as to how our best self would live. So maybe write that down. Intentions are broad statements as to how your best self would live. So for example, if you come back to your values, bringing it full circle, perhaps you say that, relationships are something that you value most. That's one of your sort of core values. And, an intention around that could be, I want to make an effort to prioritize my relationships with the people closest to me in my life. So you could set sort of a broad statement about that particular value. A goal, on the other hand, is specific and measurable. So going off of this lovely staircase, our intentions would be that broad statement. You could break it down a little bit more granularly into goals. So using this same example, if that intention is, I really want to prioritize my relationships, that goal could be, I want to call my grandparents once a week. I want to reach out and meet up with a friend for coffee once a week, whatever it is, things that are a little bit more tangible and things that you can, again, sort of achieve and helps you live in line with that intention. Breaking it down into the final step would be our actions. And we're going to talk about this here a little bit more on the next slide. So actions are that stair step. And I always, with my clients, in between our sessions, I always give them a list of action steps. And so this is a way to make goals and intentions a little bit more easy to digest. And so, we'll give them very, very specific things to achieve for that week. And those actions help us achieve our goals, which help us live in line with our intentions. So it all adds up, but I think that it can become very overwhelming. I set these very grand intentions or goals for myself, and how do I really achieve those? So it really comes down to actions. So to dive into this a little bit more, breaking down goals into actions is maybe the key step here, because we have to start somewhere. So in the PDFs that you guys will receive or already have, you will find on one page, there is a page for setting intentions and goals, given this conversation that we're having right now. So that will help you guys do that moving forward. And then from there, you'll also break down your goals into those specific action steps. So doing this using that framework to do that for yourself, this will make it obviously much easier to understand what that means. So yeah, those are going to be your little homework items moving forward. But I always like to say that, actions are where the magic happens. This is where the real change comes about. And it seems so simple, but the small daily changes that we have or that we make to our routines, any additions that we make into our diet, the small little steps that we take in the right direction towards our goals and towards our intentions create the type of life that we want to live. And it really ends up making us who we are. So being mindful, to bring it back to the wonderful mindfulness session that we just have of, in what ways are my actions not in line with my values and not in line with my goals? How can I shift those in the right direction? So really focusing, I think, on the actions here is a very important step. And at the end of the day, our actions become our habits, and our habits really become, make us who we are. So, these actions eventually become subconscious, and, it takes a while to create new habits and break old habits, but it really begins with taking a bit more mindful action and, continuous repetition of things that are in our best interest. So all of this being said, I think that, like I said earlier, I find with a lot of people that they struggle to really follow through on, maybe it's just the actions that you set for yourself. We get so distracted with work, or we have these deeply ingrained negative habits that are standing in our way. So I think it's an important with this whole conversation to understand, or to discuss rather, how to hold ourselves accountable. Because a lot of what I do as a holistic health coach is also kind of accountability coaching to a certain extent. A lot of my clients come to me because maybe they even know a lot about health and wellness already, but they really are just struggling to actually do the things that they know they should be doing. So accountability is a huge, huge part of what I do in my practice. But there are definitely things that you can begin to focus on and think about and implement to hold yourself accountable. Because I always say this to my clients as well, that it's my job and my goal to set people up for success so that they don't need me in the long run. That's my goal for you guys and everyone, is to, to learn how to do this yourself. So one of the biggest mindset shifts in order to hold yourself accountable and just be successful with following through is to focus on the long term rather than that instantaneous kind of momentary pleasure. And again, that seems very simple, but I find that with, again, so many people, even myself, that, that kind of instantaneous, that instant gratification, that, of canceling your workout, or, choosing to sit and watch TV instead of calling a friend, or whatever it is, it may feel good in the short term, but beginning to shift your mindset to, how is this going to impact me in the long term? How rewarding is this really? And kind of asking yourself those questions. Beginning that sort of internal dialogue is very important. So here are other key steps to think about when it comes to holding yourself accountable. So first, you need to set a goal, which you're going to do for your homework if you haven't already sort of started thinking about those. So setting yourself a goal, identifying a support system, I think, is an important element of this as well. Is maybe it's your partner, a friend, or family member, whoever it is, that can help support you in this journey of wanting to achieve that goal. So sharing with other people, I'm trying to do XYZ, or I'm going to do XYZ. I really need your support in encouraging me to stick to these things I should be doing. Also, creating concrete action steps is a proven method, obviously, for holding ourselves accountable, which is exactly what you're going to do for your homework as well. And another thing too is checking in on how you're using your time effectively or not, and checking on how consistent you are. Just some things to be thinking about. Also, I think it's important to make sure you're taking time to recharge, to revitalize, and leaving some flexibility and breathing room in your schedule so it doesn't feel like I have to stick to this very rigid, consistent schedule to be successful. Making sure you're giving yourself rest time is very important as well, because that's what helps you maintain the energy to achieve your goals. And last little thing is enhancing and creating an environment that supports the changes that you want to create in your life. This is a very undervalued point, and I think something that will begin to hopefully make you think about, the people you're surrounding yourself with, the type of environment you're working in, or sort of situations that you put yourself into, and asking yourself, is this environment supportive of the type of life that I'm wanting to live, the type of goals I'm trying to achieve, etc. So this is a lot, and very much just a brief introduction to so many important topics that I could probably dive into ad nauseum. But all of this being said, I really want, like I said, to provide you guys with the resources and the tools to be able to implement all of these things yourself. So for your homework, I know I mentioned this, but you guys have the documents. There's one that is referring to the goal and intention setting activity overall. So setting your intentions, breaking them down into more specific goals. And then there's two other documents. One is really is about primary food and one's about secondary food. So it's allowing you to break down the goals that you set a little bit more specifically into action steps. So hopefully leaving this summit, maybe this evening, you take a little bit of time as you're, winding down to complete these activities. I want you guys to feel like you're waking up tomorrow and you can hit the ground running and you know everything that you really want to work on, and you know which action steps to begin taking right now. So like I said, there's a lot to dive into, but hopefully this gave you guys a better understanding of what the holistic approach towards wellness looks like and how that is important to setting goals and intentions that last, and how you can just begin taking those steps necessary to live a life that feels whole for you and makes you feel more fulfilled and all of the good things. So all of this being said, just some final sort of housekeeping notes. Like I said, do your homework. I would love it if you would reach out to me on social media if you did this, because I would be so happy to hear about any of the goals that you're setting, any way I can be supportive and helpful, of course. And also, like I said at the very beginning, we have a giveaway for a 75-minute health coaching intensive session, which we'll announce here in just a moment. And otherwise, just ways to get in touch with me. Obviously, it says it right here. My Instagram is goodness with G and my website is goodnesswithg.com. So you can always reach out to me there, check out all of my content on my website. And then I did see that there was just a question that came through for the content for homework. I know I don't know if I have access to this or not, but I think we're going to upload it into the chat. So we may have done that earlier today. If not, we'll be sure to upload that here as well. So you guys have all of the homework pieces that you need. Yes, someone said it's in the chat. So definitely take a look at that. And amazing. I'm very excited to see how you guys put all of these things into practice.